Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Nobody's Doing It Right, the podcast for those who are uncertain. My name is Kat. I'm one of these perpetually uncertain people, and a few updates before we get started. Not updates, housekeeping, as usual. I offer one-to-one chat sessions if you're interested in working with me. I don't want to say working like I'm gonna magnificently transform your life, more in the sense of having these conversations about topics that you think are useful that I talk about, getting my perspective on them, which seems to be very helpful for a lot of people who I have worked with so far, which has been a fair amount, like the last couple of months, which just makes me feel so honored that people want to talk to me and want my opinion and my perspective and my advice. Like that is so, it makes me feel so honored that they even trust me to talk about stuff like that, you know? So yeah, if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to me on my website, KatarinaWrites.com. I'll have all the links in the notes below. Furthermore, I also write. I have a newsletter, which I send out every Sunday-ish, Monday-ish. I'm trying to decide on a day. But on that newsletter, I write about lessons I've learned throughout the week. You know, I kind of explore certain topics in a more creative writing type of way, which I love doing. I also write books that I sell on my website. My most recent book is the Self-Expression Handbook, and I'm currently working on a longer book about the top main lessons I've learned throughout my 20s that I think are very important and valuable and have taught me a lot. So I'm working on that now. I don't know when that'll be available, but if you want to be updated on when the release date is, you can subscribe to my newsletter / email list as well. That'll be in the links below. And also, so for the last couple of months, I've been recording these podcast episodes as videos as well, and I've been putting them up on YouTube. And I've just realized it wasn't quite aligned for me, because part of the fun of these podcasts is that I get to just sit on my chair, not worry about what I look like or looking at the camera, make sure the camera's set up for 20-30 minutes. I like just being cozy in my own little bubble, you know, staring off into whatever as I talk and, you know, have a free flow of words. And that's hard for me to do when I'm being recorded for that long of a time. So I think I'm gonna not do that anymore, but I will still upload them to YouTube. It'll just be with a different image. It'll be the image of this podcast, you know? But yeah, it just wasn't, I tried it. I gave it a good try, and people seem to still like them on YouTube. I just don't necessarily think there's a reason for me to show my face as is being recorded. I don't, because I think it's more just about the words. And yeah, so it'll still be on YouTube for anyone who's subscribed to me on there. You just won't see me sitting in my chair talking to the camera, because it just doesn't feel aligned. It doesn't feel comfortable. Anytime I sit down to record these, because I'll do my TikTok recordings on the Monday, and then I'll do my podcast right after that. Anytime I have to sit down and do my podcast, I get really uncomfortable, or I just don't want to do it just because I'm going to be sitting in front of a camera. TikTok is different because it's quick. Recording myself is quick, and it's, I can pause it and unpause it. But with the videos, I do it all in one kind of shot. So I don't know. It just kind of feels like, I have to sit there for 20 minutes and look at myself or focus on the camera or whatever. So yeah, I'm probably not going to do that, but we'll see. For this episode, I'm not doing that. I'm going to just sit comfortably in my chair, nice and cozy, and just talk into my microphone. So I hope you can understand that. Okay, so for today's episode, we're going to do a little bit of a relationship one, because I don't think I've done that in a while. I'm just looking at my list of episodes. Yeah, I haven't talked about relationships for a while. So let's get into that. Today's episode topic is going to be about why you shouldn't give more than you want to give. And this is a video I posted on TikTok. And it kind of comes down to the idea that, it's about transactional relationships and the transactions that we expect in relationships, right? I think many of us go into a relationship thinking, okay, well, I have to give this, therefore they have to give that. And if they don't give it that way that I expect to be given it, then it's bad. It's wrong. They should be doing that. They should be changing. They should be doing better. They're not good enough, all that kind of stuff. And I think that kind of stems from the current dating dialogue and discourse online right now, which, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with it, because while on the one hand I understand, and this is coming from a female specific dating advice thing, right, for women or women and female presenting people, it's more don't settle for less, know what you deserve and look for that, and don't allow people to walk all over you, don't allow people to manipulate you. Totally understand that. That's so valid and so important. However, I think with that, we kind of tiptoe into the space of, therefore, what the relationship that you are going to get into should look exactly like this. It should look exactly like what this person's relationship looks like, or how this is supposed to function this way. If they wanted to, they would. And if they're not doing exactly what it looked like for somebody else, then they don't want to. And it's like, we have to remember that everybody is different. Everybody shows love and appreciation differently. And some people are just not emotionally or mentally, physically capable of doing the same things, or the things that you expect or that you're doing for others. You know what I mean? Because it's like, we have to take into consideration that everybody has different spoons available, right? And the concept of spoons is different levels of energy, of abilities to put themselves out there, the ability to handle things mentally, emotionally. Like, everybody's different. Some people are neurodivergent. They don't see things the way others who are neurotypical see things. So having these high expectations, or not high expectations, but specific expectations, really limits the kind of connection you can have with people. You know what I mean? And so I think the reason I want to talk about why you shouldn't give more than you want to give is because it's about the topic of conditional and unconditional love, right? Transactional love. When I made this TikTok video, one of the comments said, no, you have to give more than you want, because it's not just about you anymore. You're in a relationship. And I understand, right? When you merge with someone, you're kind of taking responsibility for them as well, and their feelings and their emotions. I get that. You don't want to go out of your way to hurt someone. You're being more mindful of your behavior and all that stuff. Totally. However, if you're giving more than you genuinely want to give or are capable of giving, I think that breeds resentment, because you are draining yourself to fill somebody else's cup because of these expectations, right? And that's not to say that maybe you do want to give more, but you just can't. Or maybe giving more just doesn't feel aligned for you. And so to be forced to do it makes you feel like, I'm being literally drained of all this energy because this person expects that, right? And vice versa. Like, if you're maybe a people pleaser, which I relate to because I am one, you might have been told or shown that you have to give more because that's how you get love. That's how you get more. You give more to get more, right? The more you give, the more you should be getting in return. And that is transactional. That is not coming from an unconditional place. It's coming from a conditional place. It's expecting that the more I give, like, say someone's not giving you enough yet. Maybe it's early stages. Maybe they're struggling mentally, whatever, and they're not giving as much as you need, right? Because maybe it's coming from a place of needing that attention because you feel maybe unworthy, invalid. You're not giving yourself that appreciation and feelings of worthiness, all that stuff. You need it from them. They can't give you that. And so you're like, okay, well, I've been told in childhood that the only way to get what I want is to give more. So you start giving more and you're still not getting what you want. And there's that resentment because you're like, well, I'm giving more. I should be getting more. And it's like, I've realized as I've gotten older, it's not about what I should be getting or what they should be doing. It's giving what you want, what genuinely feels appropriate for you, without the idea in the back of your mind of, well, I should be giving more because they expect more, or because I expect to receive more. It's like, and obviously this comes from a place of being stable and secure in yourself, which takes time, takes a lot of self-awareness and mindfulness and working on this stuff. So it's not easy to kind of get to this place. And it's something that I still struggle with, but I've gotten much better at it. So I feel a bit more comfortable talking about it. But I'm kind of at the place now where I feel like, you know what, I'm okay if I'm alone. I'm okay being alone. That's not to say that I'm trying to avoid relationships or I don't need anybody, because we're human. We are social creatures. We do need people. We're interdependent, of course. But it's like being okay if I never have somebody, right? Like, if everyone disappeared off the planet tomorrow and you're alone, you could figure it out. You'd be okay. You've made your head and your mind a comfortable, safe space for you. You're not talking shit about yourself. You're not being aggressive towards yourself. You're not numbing your feelings. You're creating a safe environment for yourself, right? So when you're operating from that place and then you start connecting with others, the way you interact with them is not coming from a place of, oh, now, okay, finally I have somebody here and they're going to fill all the voids and holes that I need filled because I haven't gotten them taken care of by my childhood situation, or like I haven't worked on it in therapy, so I need them to fill that up for me. That is where the resentment comes into play. That is where like expectations come in, where conditional love comes in, right? But if you're coming from a place of, I'm good, I've worked on myself, I feel comfortable with myself, I'm okay being alone or ending things because it doesn't feel good, and I know what feels good for me to give to people. I know what my level is, or like what my boundaries are. I know what I expect for myself to give and how much I know I can give before I feel drained. If you're coming from that place, you're giving the kind of love that's appropriate. You're giving exactly what you want to give without expecting anything in return, because it's just like, that's just what I want to give. It feels good to give that kind of love or attention or whatever. It feels good for you, regardless of what that person can offer in return, because you don't need it from that person, right? You don't need them to offer in return. Yeah, it's great if they do offer that stuff in return, right? Totally. It feels great. And if they don't offer anything in return, that can also feel not great, and you can decide not to give any more to them. Totally, right? But it's more about going in, I think, from a place of, I like this person. They seem really cool. They seem fun, enjoyable, whether it's romantic or platonic, right? This is as much love as I want to give to them right now. It might be more than they're giving right now. And that's totally fine too. You can give more if you want to give more. It's just about what you want to give, right? Not, oh, they're not giving me this much, so I should curb how much I want to give because, this dating guru said I shouldn't give more because they're not giving, the strategizing. If you want to give more than they're giving right now, do it. Because for all you know, they might feel nervous to give more because they haven't seen it done yet, right? Like maybe you giving more opens up that space for vulnerability from them. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, so it is safe to give more than I have been giving because, she gave more. So maybe I should step in and give a little bit more because it feels good for me, right? You don't know that until you do it, but it has to come from a place of genuine desire and alignment, right? So you start giving more and you know that, okay, I don't expect them to give me more than they're already giving me. I like them right now as they are, how they've shown up as they are right now. And that's why I want to give this. Not because I'm giving this much love, attention, affection, because I expect them to do more now. And what they've been giving me so far, it doesn't feel very good, so I need to do more. It's like, you should be at the point, I think, from my own perspective, of so far as I've gone to know this person, I like them. I like them as they are. I don't expect them to change. I don't necessarily want them to change, because if I wanted them to change, why am I still here? I would have left a long time ago. Right? And I'm not going to use my love and affection to make them change, right? I like them as they are. And so this is what I'm going to give because I want to, because it feels good for me. It feels aligned. It feels appropriate despite expectations of, and they're going to give it right back to me because I have enough of this to give right now. I'm not draining myself to give this to this person, right? And I think that's where it needs to come from. And with that comment that said, well, you have to give more because it's not just you. Sure. You get into a relationship with someone and there are expectations of, that person has to be more mindful, more aware, try a little bit hard. Sure. But if they can't, right? Or if it just doesn't feel right for them and how they are now is exactly how they were in the beginning, they haven't changed that behavior. They haven't increased it just because your dynamic has gotten more intense or whatever. That should be what you're going from. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be operating from the place of, okay, I'm going to invest in this because I expect them to give me more later on down the line. You should be coming from a place of, I'm seeing how much they're giving me right now. Do I like it or do I not like it? Would I be willing to stick with this if it never changed? Or am I sticking with this because I expect it to change? And I think that's where unconditional versus conditional love comes into play. If they're showing you that this is how they interact with you right now, ask yourself, do I like it or do I not like it? If I don't like it, and if my impulse is to give all this love and affection and attention so that they give me more, then you shouldn't be in that situation. You should decide to step away because you're going to approach it from a place of, this is not enough and I need more. And so I'm going to give more in the expectation that I'm going to get more, right? And that's not aligned. I don't think, at least for me, this is different for everybody, obviously. But if you feel secure in yourself, you're comfortable, you don't have to find this level of attachment or affection or whatever from others as much, because you can fill your own cup up. if they're behaving a certain way right now as you're getting to know them, and sure, it doesn't look exactly like what the dating gurus say it should look like. They're not doing enough or as much, or they're not planning all these, whatever, right? If you ask yourself, do I like this? And you do, right? Despite it not looking exactly like what it's supposed to look like in this ideal dating scene or whatever, then that's all that matters, right? It's like, I like it and I don't expect them to change. And if I don't expect them to change and they stay like this forever, am I okay with that? And if you are, that's great. So you can continue giving as much as you want to give, knowing full well, like this is how they're going to behave forever. And that's okay. Yeah, it doesn't look exactly like what this dating guru said it should look like. And it also doesn't look exactly like what my last relationship looked like. And that's okay, because everybody's different. It's just a matter of how you feel about it, right? If you don't feel good about it, then you decide to leave. Not, oh, they should change then because I don't feel good. So I have to tell them, like, I need you to do more and you should change. They've shown you who they are, right? And take people at face value. It's important to do that. But if you look at it and you're like, you know what? Yeah, they're not as affectionate as my ex was. They're not as willing to plan dates and do romantic things as my ex was. And also, I'm kind of okay with that. I don't always need that, but you might always need that, and that's fine too, right? But I think it's about being mindful and coming from a place of recognizing that you are always doing what feels right for you despite any expectations, without expectations, right? I'm doing this because it just feels aligned, not because I expect anything specific in return. Would I like something in return? Sure. Yeah, that'd be great. And if I don't get something in return, I can check in with myself again and say, do I still like this? Do I still want to give more? And if not, that's totally fair too, right? But I think that's something that's not talked about enough in the online dating scene right now, right? When we talk about that stuff, like the online dating discourse, especially on TikTok. I'm talking from a place of TikTok right now because that's the main social platform I'm on. It's not talked about enough. It's like you really do have to kind of root yourself in you, right, before you approach dating. And I think part of the magic of connecting with people is recognizing that they are different, that they act in ways that are not specific to any sort of standard or expectation, that they aren't going to be exactly like the last person you dated, or they're not going to act exactly like how your friend's boyfriend is acting. And that doesn't make it any better or worse. You know what I mean? It's just different. And it's about you deciding if you like that or not. Right? Because even I get caught up in the mentality of, oh, this person that I'm seeing right now is not acting in this specific way that's supposed to be what a boyfriend or a potential partner acts like. And yet I'm okay with that. So then it makes me think okay, maybe I'm not approaching it the right way. Maybe I'm flawed in some way. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're just fine with it and it's okay. And it doesn't have to be any deeper than that in that sense. Or it doesn't have to be a reflection of your worth, right? It's just that you like it and you're okay with it and you don't feel like it's hurting you or disrespecting you, then that's fine. Just because somebody else would feel that way about it doesn't necessarily mean you have to. And if you don't, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Everybody is different. And this is just something that I have to kind of reiterate to myself, and why I'm reiterating it in this podcast episode, because I forget that. I forget that not everybody is like me, and I forget that I don't have to be like everybody, right? Which is that people-pleasing aspect of things. I don't have to do what other people expect or want me to do. I can literally just do whatever I want because it feels good to me. Obviously without hurting people, of course. That's always important to mention, but I just do it because it feels good. It might not look ideal to everyone or might not look like the right path to everybody, but who cares? Again, right? Again, easier said than done, obviously. It's hard to just disregard people's opinions of you, especially if it's your family or people close to you, obviously. But it's just a matter of repetition, reminding yourself, affirming yourself to yourself, I'm good, I'm okay. This isn't wrong or bad because it doesn't look like what somebody else is doing, right? And that's allowed me to be more unconditional in the way I approach all relationships in my life, even friendships, and also allowed me to really recognize and tap into myself and my energy levels and my willingness to give. It allows me now to look at myself and be like, okay, how full is my cup right now? Can I afford to give more? Do I want to give more? If I want to give more, can I? And what's the purpose behind giving more? And obviously these are a lot of questions to ask yourself. I get it. It's overwhelming. But after a while, I think it becomes just second nature. It's just easier to have a conversation with yourself when you practice, right? And I practice by doing it in my journal. I have a therapist, of course. I talk about her with her, and she allows me to explore these thoughts more. So the more you do it, the more comfortable you get doing it. So it doesn't feel like a chore to check in with yourself in this way. But I think that's the key for me, at least. That's been the key for me. And it's made relationships and dating so much easier, feeling so much better. It's like, it's been such a relief to go into something without expectations. And I don't mean that in a way of like, I'll just accept whatever because I don't think I deserve whatever. I mean it more in the sense of, I'm along for the ride. I'm interested to see who this person is and how they behave. I'm interested to get to know somebody who's different than the last person I dated, right? And that's the fun of it, because I know that I'm secure in myself. I know that if something goes wrong and they do something disrespectful, I'm going to walk away. I don't need them to be there for me despite their bad behavior or whatever. But I'm just interested. I just want to be surprised by what happens and how they behave and how they show up and how they show their love. I'm interested to see how different it is than how someone else does. And I don't know, maybe that's like a very optimistic way of looking at dating, because I'm sure there's so many people out there who come from malicious places when they date and they try to manipulate people, and totally. But I try to see the best in people. I try to look at things from a more optimistic place, but still rooted in optimism within myself, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not trying to go into it being like, oh, everybody's great and everyone's only going to do good things. I try to approach it from a place of, I know I'm going to do what's best for me. I trust myself. I know I'm kind to myself. And so I'm going to trust that the people I interact with are kind like me. And if they're not, I'll pick up on that and I'll trust myself to remove myself from that. You know what I mean? So it's still coming from a place of love and kindness to myself, but it's also allowing room and space for, now let's see what happens. Let's see who this person is. I want them to show me who they are, or tell me who they are. And then I can decide if I like it. But it is scary. There's a lot of uncertainty there. And that's where control comes into play. That's where wanting things to look a certain way and having a structure and all that stuff is more comforting. And I can see why the dating discourse online right now is comforting for a lot of women in particular, because it offers structure and security and safety. But I think that structure, security, and safety should start within us first. You know, it should start from within yourself to know that, okay, I'm okay either way, you know, and if this person wants to be in my life and they want to show me this level of love and it feels good for me, great. If not, that's great too. Either way, you know, trusting that things are unfolding exactly as they need to for your benefit, and you're going to be mindful of what's right for you and not right for you, and take the appropriate steps to do that, right? So yeah, sorry if this was like a rambly episode. There were a lot of concepts that I tried to pull in together. Hopefully they all made sense. Yeah, I hope this was interesting. I want to do a few more topics or podcast episodes about relationship topics, because I haven't talked about them as much as I do on TikTok. But yeah, I think this one's a really important piece when it comes to dating, especially in the early stages, right? Not going in with specific, strategic, high expectations, allowing yourself to be surprised by people, letting people show you who they are, and deciding how much you want to give. And if you want to give more than they're giving you because you just feel like doing it, then do it, you know? It's okay. And if you give more and after you give more, it doesn't feel good, that's okay too. You've learned a lesson now. And now you know for the future of, you know, what your gut is saying to you, right? So yeah, I hope this episode was interesting, insightful, informative, and I'll be back again next week with another one.